Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele Jutrisa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Let me just add a little bit more light to this. It's probably not going to make much difference to me, but it will to my table. Excuse me. So welcome. Please jump on, say hello, let us know where you're from. It's always wonderful to have new people joining us, and we always love to have a good chat here on this channel. So I'm going to flip my camera down so you can see what I've got on my desk, because I'm going to play with something. I've had it for a little while, but haven't actually played with it as yet. So let me just bring this up. Okay, there it is, the Thankful Garden. Now, some of you may have seen that I've used the Designer Series paper just recently in a scrapbook layout, but I haven't actually used the stamp sets, the dies, except for the dies I used. Excuse me, got a bit of a frog in my throat. Hello, Deborah. How are you? Good afternoon. Yes, I've used some of the leaf dies in that layout, but I haven't actually used this particular stamps or the dies that cut this out. But this stamp set also comes with masks. So when you purchase the Thankful Garden, particularly if you purchase it as a suite, now, I may not get all this right, but you get the stamp set, you get dies, you get Designer Series paper, and you get these masks. Now, there may have been something I've left off that. I can't quite remember at this present moment. So what you do, like all our other dies, masks, there are 5 masks, each one doing a different layer. So you've got 3 for the flowers, 2 for the leaves. The only thing with this one, and it's something that I would watch out, is because in this set you've got 2 different flowers, the masks have also got your 2 different flowers. So just be very careful, and you may even want to mask the section off that you don't want to be using. The other beauty of this particular set is if you do want to make up the 2 together at once, so you can use it on another project or use them both together. Of course, you could colour it all together, but just remember you might be using different colours for this flower compared to this flower. Okay, so you've got, and they've all been notched at the corner and they're all numbered. I don't know whether you can see that. Let me just see if I can bring it up. Yeah, it might be just there. They're all numbered 1 through to 5, so you know what order to do these in. So this is going to be my first time playing with this particular set of masks, which are unusual for me because I do love my masked images. So let me pull in what else I'm going to be using. I've also got the Painted Stripes stamp set. Now this one here is a red rubber, a red rubber cling stamp set. And again, I've had this for a week or 2 sitting in my stash, but I haven't got around to using it. But this is the card that I have been wanting to do this for. Now, I think last week I showed you how I adhere the stickers to my red rubber, and I thought I'd do it again because this is the main reason why I do it block to sticker, because when you get these huge big stamps, that's one stamp, this one here, I find, and it could be just me and how I do it, but I find that I always get air bubbles in these. I would put the sticker on top of this and my sticker will be too tight to my stamps, and my stamps can tend to warp a little bit or sort of be pulled up because, you know, the one on top is a bit heavier or a bit tighter. So this is the easiest way to work it out. Now I'm going to make, you got a wide stripe here, you got a thin stripe there, so I'm going to make that wide stripe there at the top. So when I put my sticker on, I know I want to put my wide stripe to the top here. So I'm going to do it exactly the same as I've done all my other ones. I'm going to peel that off, both layers, both the backing and the sticker. I'm going to take my sticker and adhere it to my block. And that means that now is already on a hard surface. That is nice and flat. There could be that little bit of air bubbles in there, and I can see a few there, and I'm just going to try to wipe those out. You could pierce those with a a pin or something like that, but I don't have any of those handy with me. That's in a different room. I'm just going to see if I can just lift that up a little bit and just really try to get all those air bubbles out of that. I know it's not probably going to really make that much of a difference because the air bubbles is actually between the sticker and my block, not between the block and the adhesive on top. Okay, so I've got my stripe to the top, my wide stripe to the top, my thin stripe to the bottom. So let's peel off this backing. And now I'm going to take my block to my stamp. So I don't have anything in particular to line up, and I actually might turn this around. So I'm taking my wide stripe, I'm going to pop it onto this side over here, and I'm going to bring this block. Just makes it a little bit easier to handle because it is a very, very wide block. And I'm sorry if I'm going to get my head in the road. Now, I may not get this perfectly lined up because you can't really sort of see through the block to tell where exactly you are, but at least I'm going to have it on there nice and flat. So I've got that onto there. I'm going to give that a really good push, and I'm hoping I'm going to be reasonably accurate. I'm probably a millimetre or two out. I'm hanging over the edge a little bit, I think, on this end here, but that's fine because it's not like something I need to line up things for. But that's now not, that sticker is on there nice and flat. There are a few little air bubbles in there. You probably could come in with your piercing tool and just very gently just put a little bit of a hole in there. It's just air in there that's just stuck in there. But at least my sticker hasn't pulled up tight. And it's not causing my stamp to actually bow so it doesn't sit nicely. So that's one of the reasons why I really like doing it this way. So I'm going to pop that back on there because I do want to use that. So that is the other stamp set we're going to use, and that gives a really nice water wash type pattern to your cardstock. So let's get started and get rid of some of this rubbish which I don't need around the place, and we'll move that out of the road. And I'm going to pop that big block over there for the moment. So the colours that I've chosen for this in my cardstock, I have pulled out. Now I'm trying to remember which one that one is. I think that one there is the Highland Heather. It's the lighter of the two, not the darker. My stamp pads have gone now looking very much exactly the same, but I'm pretty certain that that's the Highland Heather. I'm certain the Gorgeous Grape is the darker one. So I've got in my inks, I've got my Highland Heather and I've got my Gorgeous Grape. I have pulled out Old Olive, and I'm going to use Old Olive in my matte and also for my card insert. So I've got two pieces of those. I've also got another piece of Old Olive because I'm going to do some die cutting. Hello, Lucia, how are you? It is a good technique for putting your stamps onto your blocks, or your stickers onto your stamps. I've also pulled out the basic beige because I really do love this colour, and I have got two pieces cut down for my card insert and my card front. Well, I think that's a spare piece, and then I've got a piece to do my stamping and colouring on. Now the only thing I haven't decided yet is what colour I'm going to do my sentiment as far as on what cardstock. I've also got a piece of basic white to one side, but that's what I've got in cardstock. So besides the Gorgeous Grape and the Highland Heather, I've pulled out Fresh Freesia, Old Olive. Now I'm not quite sure yet whether I'm going to do Old Olive and just do it because the leaves, there are 2 masks and do double. So you've got the same colour but one darker than the other. But I've got Old Olive, but I also pulled out Mossy Meadow because I love those 2 colours together. I've pulled out my Basic Beige, and I've also pulled out Smoky Slate and Basic Grey. Now, I'm not wanting to stamp my photopolymer floral image in Basic Black. I want to do it in one of those 2 colours. Now, if I do it in the Smoky Slate, which is the one I'm sort of thinking of going for, it will actually almost blend into my colouring, and that's what I want. I don't really want a huge outline. So we're going to give all this a go because I haven't tested any of this morning. I have been busy doing other things so that I needed to get done. So they're the colours we're playing with. They're the dyes that go with the set, and there's our cardstock. So I've got a scrap here of paper, and the first thing I want to do is stamp my images. Now I want to stamp onto that piece and my insert piece. Now I'm going to stamp my floral images first, and I think I will go with that Smoky Slate. So hello Linny, how are you? And Jean, how are you? So let's give this all a bit of a go. Now Linny did say to me when this set came out that she thought I'd be buying it straight away, but I did, but I haven't used it yet. So well, let's use it now. So I think I might stamp. I'm just making sure I've got a good coverage there. Now this is going to be my insert piece, so all I want to do is just stamp some of that onto there. Now I should have put a foam mat underneath that, and I haven't done that, but I think it still should work out okay. If it doesn't, we'll just flip the cardstock over and do it again. Beautiful. So I just want that on the inside of my card. So I'm just going to stamp that off, and I'm going to bring in my piece that we're going to colour. So let's ink this up again, and as you notice, I've taken my ink pad to my image because it is a big image, and it's a lot easier when you're dealing with big images to go stamp pad to stamp rather than stamp to stamp pad. So I'm just making sure I've got good coverage there, and I'm going to stamp down onto that. Okay, so that's going to let that dry a little bit, and we'll go on to the next bit. So I'm going to pop this stamp pad away and pop that to one side. The next thing I wanted to do was to just realised I'm probably one piece of cardstock short. Let's think about this. Okay, so I might have to cut. No, this part was going. Oh, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? It's the wrong piece of cardstock, that's why. That's going onto that, so I'm going to mat that onto there. So that's my piece I need next, and I'm wanting to add a bit of colour onto here. Now, I'm sort of not thinking I might go Basic Beige to Basic Beige. So we'll give this a go. If I don't like it, then we're just going to turn it over, do it again. So again, I'm adding ink to stamp because this is a big stamp, and I'm going to add paper to stamp. So I'm going to just take that out from underneath, pop this down onto that, pop some paper onto that, and let's just give that a good rub and transfer that ink across. So I'm hoping it's straight. Didn't really check that too well, did I? So let's have a look, see how we went. Yep, that's not too bad. Quite happy with that. And I'm just going to pop that to one side and let that dry, and hopefully that's going to really soften down a bit because there's a lot of ink in there and that's quite wet, and I'm hoping that's going to give me a much softer texture on there, but I just wanted that little bit of texture. Now, of course, you could have done that with a different colour if you wanted it. You could have even stamped it off and then made, stamped it again to get a very, very light texture to that. So this frog in my throat's not wanting to go away. So let's just pop that stamp to one side and that stamp pad. And we're going to bring back in our scratch paper and our image. So we have got our masks here. Now, just going to make sure I've got mask 1 to start with, and I'm going to layer this on top. Now, I haven't even, as I said, I haven't played with this yet, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to fit around. So let me just play with it. I think it goes that way. So I'm going to turn that around. So I've got my image going diagonally because I think that is going to fit better like that. And it also means that if I get any ink off, it's going to be down here to the side. Now I've got a pencil here and I'm just going to mark that notch, and that will just help me each time in matching all of that up. So I've got some of my brushes just here, and I'm going to grab this one first, and I'm going to start with my lightest colour and work up. So making sure that's all lined up. Now, if you're not quite sure whether that is going to stay, by all means, grab some tape. Now, I've got some masking tape here. It was supposed to be low tack, but it's not as low tack as what I would have hoped. But anyway, I'm going to use this just to make sure that this all stays in place. And because I'm going to die cut this out, so I'm not really worried if this does tear a bit of my paper on the underneath. So I'm just going to pop another corner of this on. Maybe one more. Looks a bit like florist tape, this stuff, but it was supposed to be low tack. But of course, you could also use your post-it note tape as well. I just want to use this and get rid of it. Okay, so I'm going to pop that onto there. That's all nicely lined up. So I'm going to start with my lightest colour, which is going to be my Fresh Freesia. Now, I was almost going to use Bubble Bath, but I thought, no, this has got that little bit more purple in it, but I don't want to make it too bright, so I'm going to probably take a little bit of this off, and I'm not going to go on this too heavy. I do want this to be soft, and you are better off adding a little bit at a time rather than going at it with full strength ink, because it'll be amazing how strong this is once you pick it up. You take your mask off and you see the colour underneath. Now, if you did this on a white background, of course, your colours are going to come out probably much crisper looking. But being on a beige background, I am going to have that little bit of earthy tones coming through my colours. So, as I said, I just want to keep this fairly soft. So I'm quite happy with that. Can always come back and add a bit more if I want to add a bit more later on. So let's just peel this tape off, and that way I can use it again. And I'm going to pop that over there out of the road. But you can see that that's quite a soft layer. So now I've got layer 2, and again I'm going to go with it at a diagonal and layer that on, matching up that little notch there. Now you could use a different brush for each colour, but I'm not. I'm actually just going to use the same brush because I don't mind if I've got a little bit of colour coming through. Now I did say, which one did I say was the darker and the lighter? Let's just have a, okay, we want to make sure because I want this to be the next lightest one. So that one there was Gorgeous Grape, which I think is the darker one. So I'm going to just clean off my stamp there a bit. Might have to write on these, dark light, because they're so old they're fading. Definitely the Highland Heather is the lighter of the two. I'm just going to remove those dies out of my road. So now I'm going to come in with my next colour and do the next layer. So again, I just want to keep these not too, don't want it too dark. I just want to keep it fairly light. I'm just going to brush off some of that colour. I do want the difference between those two colours to show up a little bit. So I might just do a bit more and then we'll check it out. Because hydrangeas can be either really bright or they can be really soft. They can be very blue or more so your pinks. Yep, I'm really happy with that, and I think that's enough of that colour. I don't want to make it too dark. Okay, so put that one over there. Now I've got the Gorgeous Grape, and we better change those masks. Pop that one over there to be cleaned. Let's bring in the next one, again matching up that notch. This is where that notch comes in handy because now my masks are getting slightly smaller as I go down. And again, I'm using the same brush because I'm going from light through to dark. And we're just going to add that little bit more. Hydrangeas are probably one of my favourite flowers. I love these. Now, I don't want to go too dark with this because I want it to have a contrast but not overpower. Yep, I'm really happy with that. I love how that's turned out. Isn't that gorgeous? So just really nice and soft in colour. Okay, so that's all of that one. Now, while I have got that brush with me and I have got this one here, I'm not actually going to colour this as I've done there. I just want to take the colours into this and just add some of that colour into there, just really soft. Just using that colour I have on my brush just to bring up, I don't know whether you can see that. Let me see if I put it under a bit of more white. Just to bring, it's just got a very soft colour on there. So I'll pop that back to the side again. Let's bring this back in. And we're going to be using now, let's get rid of all of those. This is starting to dry. I'm not quite sure it's softening up as much as I would like, but it might take a little bit of time. It still looks like it's a little bit damp. We might hit it in a minute with the heat gun and see if that helps. But I'm going to bring in now the Old Olive and our next mask. So again, I'm working from my lightest. pop that just there. They're getting a bit scraggy now, but that's okay. It'll still work. And we'll grab another brush. I wash my brushes after I use them each time, but they still get a little bit of staining in there, so I can sort of see which ones I've used for greens and which ones I've used for pinks, just in case there's a bit of colour in there that I haven't got out. I'll still try to go back. Okay, so again, I'm going to keep this fairly soft. I don't want it too dark, and I think that is enough of that one. Now, this is where I can either come back in and go over it again, or in the same colour, but just intensify it a little bit. Or I can come in with the Mossy Meadow. Sometimes I like to come in with the same colour, and the reason for that is I find that because there's only 2 layers of masks for each colour, you're not getting a graduation from one colour to the next. If you had like a soft old olive and then a medium old olive and then a lighter old olive, you could graduate the colours. But with this, there's only 2 colours. So some of the images I've seen done by other demonstrators, there's been a big difference between the lighter colour and the darker colour, and I'm not a great fan of having that. So I'm going to try first off with just using the old olive on top and just see what I think. Because I do like to have these looking as natural as I possibly can. So let's just have a quick look and see what we think. And actually, I think I quite like that. So it's just got a little bit of a hint. I'll bring it up closer. So I'm not going to use that Mossy Meadow, so that can just be popped to one side. But I do like the softness of going the same colour on top and just intensifying that colour. So let me just take this off here, and then I can bring this up to the camera so you can see the effect I was trying to get. So trying to keep it quite soft. So you can see the shading is there, but it's just not as strong. Okay. And I'm really glad I went for the Fresh Freesia. I probably could have gone slightly darker than what I've done there. If I used exactly the same colours, used them exactly the same way on white, it would look brighter. But because I'm used it on basic beige, it's sort of keeping that muted earth tones to it. Okay. So we have now coloured our card insert. This is ready for die cutting. The only thing I haven't stamped so far is my sentiment, because I'm not quite sure. I'll probably do it on basic beige, but I'm going to pop the card together first and go from there. So I need my scrap of, make sure I've got the right one. That's the one there. I've got my scrap piece here of old olive, which I want to cut out some leaves. I don't need my insert piece, but I do need this one so we can die cut that. So let's just remove that for the moment. And my brushes, I've got a bucket here on the side of all my brushes I need to go and wash. So that's about full. I've cut this old olive piece down to about 3.5 inches because that's what fits into the mini cut and emboss really well. Thank you, Deborah. Now, I'll need to cut this down because that won't fit in there in that size. And let's just make sure first off that that's going to fit. Yes, it will fit on my mini. So I'm just going to trim this down because I do want that to fit in that area. It needs to be about 3.5 inches. I think that's what I remember correctly. Yep, probably could take that down just that little bit more. Your mini cut and emboss machine is about 3.5 inches in width. The plates are anyway. So we want our paper to be no bigger than 3.5 inches. So I'm going to pop that onto there. Now I am going to use my Post-it note here because this is where I do not want anything to rip. Nothing worse than doing all this work and then the whole thing ripping. So it's only just there just to hold all that in place while I put my top plate on. Double check, make sure I'm happy with that, and let's roll that through. So I hope you've all had a good week. I've been getting lots of things done. Okay. Possibly could have just lifted my die up a little bit, but I'm actually quite happy with that. That looks beautiful. And that's going to go on there just to give that little bit of an old world look. So I'll pop that up there. Pop that die over there. We don't need that for the moment. Still need my tape. And the next thing I need is I've got this piece of green, which I've already cut down to 3.5. And these dies also come with some beautiful leaf dies. On my scrapbook page the other day, I used this leaf here out of this set. It was the only item I used from this set in my layout. I did use the DSP from the suite, but this is the only die I used. But I really loved that. Just came out so lovely. And it was easy to cut down because I had to cut some of the leaves down. It was big enough for a scrapbook page, easy enough to cut down so when I did need smaller ones. And I'm going to pop that into there. And we're going to cut a couple of these. Not quite sure yet where I'm going to use them, but just thought just in case. Now these flowers would also be wonderful on a scrapbook page. Deborah, you went on stage. Wonderful. Did you enjoy it? I have decided that next year I will be there because it's going to be back in Sydney again. And I think that is just fantastic that's going to be back in Sydney. I love on stage, but I haven't been to one of their 3-day ones. So there's one. I'm going to cut out at least another 2. So I've already started putting money aside. How about that? I've decided, drawn up myself a 12-month plan. My husband's going to come with me to Sydney. He won't come to the events with me, but because we used to live in Sydney, and our children live in Sydney, so we've got lots of family and friends to visit. So he says he's going to go and do some touristy things. So he'll probably take his camera and spend the couple of days walking around Sydney doing photography. And knowing my son, he'll probably join him. But I will be there. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's great to get in, and it's the beauty of being a demonstrator is that you actually get to make friends with lots and lots of people in Stamping Up from around Australia and from around the world. Very good friend of mine, or 2 friends of mine, Deborah, oh, isn't it terrible? Lorraine and Diane from Canada were at the Brisbane this year. They try to go to different ones every time it's on. And, of course, I couldn't catch up with them as I didn't go to Brisbane for the convention, but I am hoping to catch up with them in the next couple of days because they're back in Sydney. So Joe and I are going to do hopefully a trip to Sydney over the weekend and catch up with them before they head back to Canada. So you really do make friends from around the world. So there's those leaves. And aren't they beautiful? They have got so much detail. I mean, it's only simple detail, but it's good detail. Yeah, we miss it in Sydney. But I suppose we've got to let, Linny, we've got to let some of these other states have some of the fun too. Yeah, well, that'll be the same for me because I think you and I did the last one together as well. So, but yeah, really looking forward to next year. It's actually given me a pep in my step, as you could say, because I just feel like, I'm looking forward to it and it's exciting. And my husband and I have decided we're going to spend a bit more money on our accommodation than probably what we would normally and make it to a 3-day holiday sort of thing. So we're going to book our accommodation fairly soon as we've clarified it's going to be at Darling Harbour, which by the images that they've shown us, it looks like it, but I just want it clarified before I go and buy or pay for accommodation. So we're going to get in early and get nice accommodation. I've never stayed somewhere so nice. So that's going to be fun. Just really make an event of it for Joe and I. It's going to be fantastic, actually. Whoops, got a little bit of glue here, and I've just put it on the wrong thing. But anyway, we'll pop onto that. And now, so here's my card insert, and we're going to pop this onto here. Now, the other thing I do need to mention to you, if you are a Stampin' Up customer, Stampin' Up have started their new reward system as of yesterday. So if you go to order anything on my online store and you want to receive rewards, because now you can receive rewards every time you spend $35 or over $35, I should say, so $35 and up, you'll get 10% to spend on take off your next sale. So you need to opt in for that. So if you're placing an order, make sure that you have got a Stampin' Up an account. A pop-up box will appear the first time and it will ask you, do you want to opt in? And you're going to say, yes, I want to opt in. I want to grab some freebies. So then you will get every dollar over that $35, you'll get 10%. Okay, so this piece here I'm going to adhere onto there. Still got a little bit of drying to do. I'm just going to hit this with the heat gun. Just bear with me 1 second. That's okay, Wendy. Great to have you on. So I'm just giving this a really good heat just to make sure it's nice and dry because I really did ink that up quite well. I might leave it at that because I don't want to don't want the cardstock to curl too much, which is what can happen, but that's already starting to lighten down a little bit. So that will continue lightening down, and I'm going to adhere that onto that mat. So it's another mat, and I will put all my measurements and everything for this on my blog. Yeah, so what was I saying? Okay, so with the jump on to my online store. If you haven't got an account with me, set up an account. Then opt in to say, yes, you want to receive rewards. Spend $35, you'll get $3.50 to take off your next sale. So it comes off the sale after that. Now, if you don't want to use that $3.50 up, you want to save it up, you can. And you can save them up for at least, I think it's 12 months. but you have that 12 months to use them up. So use them up well before that 12 months ends. It will tell you on, I'm just trying to move this down a little bit. It will tell you on the top of your order form or somewhere on that page, there is a video out, and I have got that on my Stampin' Up website, Facebook page, of how you can redeem it all. So, but if you have questions or anything, by all means, give me a call. But you can save it up for 12 months only, and then use them on a big ticket item. So if you wanted to get a mini cut and emboss machine, if you don't have one of those, and save up that 10% from all your sales for 6 months or for 10 months, 11 and a half months, and use them. But don't wait till for 12 months because you might lose them. So, okay. So there's my card base. So my card base is in that Highlands Heather. And I'm going to adhere that to there. But before I do that, I'm going to pop this piece on here. I still have my sentiment bit to work out. So it's a question of, do I do my sentiment in a piece of basic white, which is a very big contrast, or do I do my sentiment on the basic beige? Because I've also got basic beige in the ribbon here. So let's just open this up. I don't very often go through 2 rolls of ribbon, but the basic beige I have done, so I've had to order a second roll. So let's open that. And I was thinking with this, so we're very much beige on beige on beige at the moment. Let's just see how we go. So I want a piece about that length, which is roughly 18 centimetres. And I want that to go across like this. So I'm going to I might grab a piece of tear and tape for this. And we're going to pop a piece of tearing tape on each side. Peel that backing off. Now I want that to go probably around about there to there. So it's roughly a third of the way up. I just want to make sure I've got that nice and straight. So let's just pop it on here. It's around about 4 centimetres and around about 4 centimetres. So it's nice and straight on there. I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the back of this. Now, let me see if I've got some dimensionals here. Because I've got ribbon on here, I do want to have that sitting up a little bit. I actually might just pop dimensional over that ribbon just a little bit. Now you could have, if you wanted to, stamped your sentiments directly onto your card front, but I decided not to do that because I was going to put the ribbon on there. Just making sure that all of those are sticky. I like to line up my longer edge first. Don't push anything down and just, whoops, just got to take that up a little bit higher. So that can go onto there like that. I'm going to pop that up there. I want to pop that up a little bit higher. And I'm going to make a bow using my bow maker. So with my bow maker, I hold that piece in my thumb, wrap that around. I'm going to go a little bit longer. It's going to go back up. Whoops, I probably got a little bit too long there, or too short in that part. Wrap that back up, pop that through that little hole I've got at the top. Probably should have made my piece of ribbon that little bit longer. And then once I've got those two coming up through there, I tie a knot. So let's see if I've got this too short. I might have to redo this. Let's just tie a nice strong knot and take that off. Just give that a really good pull in those tails. Then I'm just going to trim that off. Look, I'm going to do that bow again because I'm pulling on that and I'm just stretching the ribbon. So let's just try it again. We're just going to go around there. I'm going to cut myself off a bigger piece rather than being so stingy. So that wraps around. You've got a hole in there. Pop that piece in through that hole. Whoops. Back up through the legs at the bottom. Pull that tight. Not so tight that you're bending the butterfly legs, but, and then give that a really good pull, just to pull that nice and tight. There we go, that's better. Now I can cut that at a better length. So let's pop this up on first. Going to grab those dimensionals again. Going to pop that just about there. Grab a glue dot. Now I'm thinking that that could go there on that, but where am I going to put my sentiment? Like, I'm just going to hold off 1 second and just think about this sentiment piece. So we've got that. It's only a small bow. Let's just stamp a sentiment. Now I have got, if I hadn't have put this down here, probably could have just gone with love. Actually, I might even see if I can still do it. I'm going to stamp directly onto this. I should have something with a bit of weight underneath there. And actually, I'm going to pop sheet of dimensionals just in there to just give me, I wonder if I can, probably can't get it from that side. Wouldn't normally do this, but should have done this before. They're still going to get all used, but all I'm doing is adding a little bit of stability in there. I've got a nice firm area there now to stamp on. And I'm going to take the Gorgeous Grape, the darker one. And I'm just going to add that right there. Let's hold that down for a second. Don't rock it because we don't want to ruin it. How's that? Just had a little bit of fluff there. I thought I'd rocked it, but I hadn't. So that's just with that. Even an adhesive sheet would have done the same thing. Just something needed to go in there because otherwise I would have been at two heights. So may not have got a nice adhesion of the glue to the cardstock. So I'm going to pop this bow on with a glue dot. Now that bow is not going to interfere now with whatever sentiment because I've done my sentiment there. So I'm just going to pop that bow straight underneath there. That's just wanting to turn that way. We're just going to let it turn the way it wants to turn. Cut that at a nice angle there. And there. Now the only thing we haven't done, and I haven't done bows on cards for a long time with ribbon, so we're going to add this piece on the inside. Oh, you know what we haven't used? I've cut those leaves. Oh, we might need to pop those in. Almost forgot. Look, almost forgot these. So let's just add, because I think we do need to have a bit more of this in here. Have it hanging over a little bit. I think I might do that. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on there. I don't mind if I get it a bit there because it's all going to go right underneath. And that's going to go just turn that a little bit there. Take that in as much as I can because I don't want to cover up those words, but I want that leaf to, whoops, not quite wanting to go where I want it to go. You know what? I'm just going to cut that off. That's okay because we're going to hide all of that. Hold on a sec. Want that to sit there, want that to sit there. It's the beauty of having these nice big leaves. You can cut them all off. So we've got that one going there. I'm going to pop that one up into there. Just give that a bit of a push down just to hold that. And then Do we need another lot? I think we do, because hydrangeas are they can be a very bushy bush, a very leafy bush. Let's just cut that one off. I think, yep, I'm going to stick them in there. And we've just got one little spare leaf here, and I don't think we're going to need it, so I'm going to leave that off. And I'm just wondering, is there any bling we could add? No. Maybe those. These are the antique pearls, because they've got that really nice basic beige sort of look. I only just need a couple because I just need something up in here. So there's 3 different sizes. Don't know whether I'm going to use the big one, but I am definitely going to use that one. That one. There. 1, 2, 3. So I've got 2 clusters of 3, and I just need to add probably one more little, just so then we've got, I think I might just pop one over there. Now let's just have a look. So I think they're too big to go there, but I don't know whether I need a second one there. We could she can pop one on the leaf. Doesn't matter if one's on the leaf. There we go. So we've got 3 clusters of 3. Done. So let's just remove all the bits and pieces and have a look at our completed card. So there you are. And I think that's quite pretty. And even if you used the other flower, you could do a very similar layout. I'm just sort of wondering whether that just needs maybe. Does it need that? Yes or no? Probably not. But anyway, so there you are. There's my card for today. As I said, I will try to blog this today or tomorrow and have all my measurements that I used on there. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Of course, you could use any colours you wanted to for your hydrangeas. I just like to have the lighter colours. But hydrangeas come in all colours. So you've got pinks, you've got blues, you've got the purples. You even have white ones with slightly pink. So you could do them in a basic beige and then have a very soft, like the bubble bath pink centres to them as well. So there you go. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you can join me again next Friday at 1 o'clock, and we might create something again along similar lines of that. I might do the other flower. I might do something completely different. We'll wait and see what I dream up next. So take care. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy yourself. It looked this morning it was going to be quite wet here in the Highlands, but now we've got beautiful blue skies with nice white fluffy clouds, and hopefully over the next 2 days I can get to Sydney to visit Diane and Lorraine before they head back to Canada. So take care, stay well, and have a great weekend. Thanks very much for joining me. Bye for now.